Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy, it's a pleasure. It's always my honor to always be bringing this message of emancipation to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. And that is why I want to share with you something that Abdullah would have shared with Neville Goddard. And as we know, Abdullah was a black mystic born in Ethiopia, and he was Neville Goddard's mentor. And one thing that he taught Neville Goddard was to have a controlled, vivid imagination. And the reason why he taught Neville that he must have a controlled, vivid imagination, it is because in order for anyone to manifest their every desire, they would need to understand that the human imagination is the creator in everyone. And the reason why I say the human imagination, it is because we are spirits having a human experience. And our real self is invisible. And that invisible self is what I refer to as imagination, which is God Himself. And there is no other God. There is no God outside of yourself. God is not a man in the sky. God is the creative power in you. The very life in you is God. There's nothing higher than life. And life is not created or destroyed. It is eternal, but it can be transformed or transmuted. And that same power of which I speak is what we would have used to transmute that creative energy to a cell phone. Transmute that creative energy to a camera. Transmute that creative energy to a computer. Transmute that creative energy to money. For everything was for us imagined. Everything was for us a thought. It was for us an idea. So everything that is visible comes from the invisible. So when Neville had a burning desire and he wanted to visit his family in Barbados, but yet he had no work and he had no money, Abdullah taught him the importance of having a controlled, vivid imagination. And in so doing, Abdullah said to Neville, no, you're not just gonna imagine anyhow. There's a way you have to do it. And so he encouraged him to imagine himself in his mother's home in Barbados while he was actually residing in New York. And also, he encouraged him to imagine himself walking the streets of Barbados as he walked the streets of New York. And there's such a vast difference to the streets of Barbados compared to the streets of New York, because the streets of New York have all these high-rise buildings, and America's a metropolitan, country, so big, everything is big. The roads are so wide and so on, they have drive-overs, all of these things. When you come to Barbados, it doesn't have these things. Okay, and I have been to Barbados on many occasions, and I live in the Caribbean, so I know exactly how much a vivid imagination Neville had to exercise to really visualize himself in Barbados while he was residing in New York. So my brother and my sisters, you have to be definite about what you want. And you have to display a controlled, vivid imagination, which means you must not allow your mind to go astray or allow your vision to go astray. You have to practice to focus. You have to practice to concentrate. Therefore, you have to spend your day being quite aware of how your mind works, how thought works. And you don't have to be the policeman of your thoughts, ordering your conversation aright, being the leader and the guide, being the Lord and Master of your destiny, thinking more wisely because you understand the power of the mind. You understand why it is said that all things were made by him, not some things, all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. No, when you look around you and you realize that everything that was ever made, it was first imagined, and everything else that ever going to be made, it must first be imagined. You realize that that him is not a visible man. That him is not a man who existed 2,000 years ago. That him is the invisible man in each and every one. That him is God. And God is your imagination. And that is why the name of God is I am. From generation to generation. And it's your memorial. And that is why you can never ever say I am and not referring to yourself. Also, that's the reason why the universal question of life will always be, who am I? And when the answer comes, it must be I am. Which is to say I am that I am. Which is to say I am whatever I believe myself to be. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the reason why the universal question of life would have to be I am is because we are all born in this world in a state of amnesia, a state of forgetfulness. So we cannot remember when it was a month old, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months old, or 12 months old, or whatever. You just cannot remember. So each and every cycle as we grow, we are coming more and more to the question of who am I? We are seeking to know our true identity. I'm saying to you that your true identity is your divinity, but you have to learn to look inwardly and learn to understand that the Bible addresses the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically. And this was what Abdullah taught Neville Goddard when he pointed him to how he should go about getting his ticket to travel to Barbados with no money and no work. And as we all know the story, Nevill went to Barbados first class and had more than enough money to buy himself a suit and to do whatever else he wanted to do. And that is why the Bible states that you must come and buy milk, come and buy wine, come and buy honey without money, because there you possess a power that is greater than money. As a matter of fact, that power creates money, and that power in man is man's imagination, which is the creator in everyone. And that is why whenever you call upon a God outside of yourself or believe in a God outside of yourself, you are giving away your power. And that is why also that in this world you will always have the rich and the poor. You will always have the wise and the foolish. The foolish always look outside of themselves, and the foolish always dwell in that place of limitation. The fool would say I am and think he's speaking of another, but the wise would know his true self. Because remember, the greatest lie is when you have self-doubt. The greatest lie is when you refuse to believe in yourself. There's no one can help you, there's no one can redeem you, there's no one who can save you when you do not believe in yourself. So my brothers, my sisters, when you do not believe in yourself, you're actually speaking against yourself. You're actually speaking against the creative power that is within you when you do not believe in yourself, because the self of man is God. For God and man are one. Therefore, it is very important to have a controlled, vivid imagination. So my brothers and my sisters, practice meditation every day. Practice visualization every day. Remember that breath is life. That breath is God. For you're told that God breathed the breath of life into man, and man became a living soul. Your body is the outer expression of the soul. And your invisible body is the soul. So you have a visible body and an invisible body. So when you practice meditation, you practice visualization, you're getting in touch with your true self, your God self. But you have to be so focused with the right understanding of who you are. And it will help you to have that vivid imagination, which is to say that you wouldn't have doubt, you wouldn't have fear, you wouldn't be double-minded, because remember, double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. But you will be stable in your ways, knowing that your imagination will never fail you, because you are so certain of your imagination. So my brothers and my sisters, put your imagination to work and prove for yourself why it is said in 2 Corinthians 13:5 to examine yourself or test yourself. Don't you know your own self? That Jesus Christ is in you? In other words, don't you know that Jesus Christ represents the creative power in you? Get to know yourself and embrace yourself. And that will help you to have a controlled, vivid imagination. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, I want to thank you very much, and I want to say to you, if this is the very first time that you're listening to me, what I'm saying, it really makes sense to you, it's really resonating with you, I would like to say to you, if you haven't subscribed already, to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share this video. But just before I leave you, I just want to remind you that this message I bring to you, that it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body be full of light. And to be honest with you, my brother and my sisters, hasn't it been that my whole body was filled with light when the single eye awakes within me, when I awake from the dream of life? I wouldn't have been here bringing this message to you and saying to you that when it says that you shall change from mortal to immortality in a twinkling of an eye, that twinkling of an eye is an opening of an eye, and it doesn't take place on the outside, it takes place on the inside. And you come to realize that it is the rising of the S-U-N and the S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life. For the sun parallels the human imagination, and the human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, as in the S-U-N, there is no life and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing will he withhold from you. And the Bible is the sun book. Also, truly, the sun has never withheld any good thing from humanity, for the sun is what powers all of humanity and gives all of humanity its energy. And that is why you're told in Malachi chapter 4 verses 2 also, that the Son of Righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. And truly, when the Son has risen in me, I'm bringing healing to all of humanity, pointing each and every one to look inwardly and to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, which is actually the sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire by practicing meditation and have a controlled, vivid imagination so you can create your reality consciously. That was the message taught to Neville Goddard by Abdullah, our ancestor, the black mystic from Ethiopia. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, out.